Hey, what's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network, your destination for Los Angeles sports. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Unfortunate Rams lost 24-19 with the Packers. Another entertaining game. Came down to the last drive. Rams had a chance to win the game on the right arm of Matthew Stafford. Were unable to do so, but we will get all into it here on the Rams Skinny, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Ryan Skinny T. Anderson. What's up, brother? Happy Monday. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Crazy weekend. What all the upsets in college football, and then upsets happening. Even though the Rams are where they are, they could win this division.
Yeah.
That second
Division.
Niners game is looking much more winnable right now, but we got a long way till we get there. But how you doing?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's wild. Yeah, bad day for LA, bad weekend for LA football all around. UCLA loses to Penn State, USC inexcusable loss to Minnesota, and then the Rams lose. So the Charger fans are the one happy ones. They're in a bye, so they didn't have to deal with the loss. They play the 3-2 Broncos next week. All of a sudden, the Broncos are a wild card playoff team after winning 3 straight, but that's a whole nother conversation. So yeah, Rams fall to the Packers 24-19, fall to 1-4 on the season as they go into the bye. Not a huge surprise. We knew this game was going to be tough, but we'll get all into it. So, show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. All the best game lines, money lines, plenty of sports to go around. Obviously, MLB World Series, Dodgers and Padres tied at 1 now after the Padres took it to the Dodgers last night at Dodger Stadium. Now they head down to Petco Park, so you can bet on that. Go Dodgers here in LA. Obviously, all the NFL lines, college lines, but everything can be done at betonline.ag. Tell them the guys over at the Rams Skinny sent you. Before we kind of dive in, Skinny T, any just big thoughts, I guess, from this game? Any takeaways, positive or negatively?
My big takeaways are, this team is still suffering from the injuries. I think if Cooper Kupp had been in this game, the outcome would have been a Rams win. Again, on the offensive line as well. Those injuries are rearing their ugly head. Logan Bruss was a bit exposed today going up against Kenny Clark, allowing quite a few pressures. So, yeah, I mean, I think I actually came away from this game feeling a bit more positive than I did coming out of Chicago. And, possibly that's the good news that Cooper Kupp is probably going to make an appearance after the bye. Sounds like he's going to be healthy in that Raiders game. They didn't help themselves in the playoff conversation at all. But this year is just so weird that on the back half of this year, it could look a lot different. So I don't know. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling optimistic today, but I am. I mean, encouraging
Yeah.
things from Jerry Whittington, encouraging things from the defense. What are your big takeaways?
Yeah. So I can't figure out what I truly think kind of this team, because you think of outside of the Cardinals game, they've been in every game. They've had an opportunity to win every game outside of that Cardinals game. And so it's two sides to me, and I can't quite decide which I think is more true. There's the one side that they're just punching above their weight because they're injured, but as long as they have Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, they're going to be competitive. They're going to be in these games, but they're punching above their weight. And when it comes down to a couple of plays, they're just don't have the talent of their competition because of the injuries. So that's one. Or two, is this more of a actual issue where they should still be winning these games because they've put themselves into positions to win, but they're just not executing regardless of who's out there, whether it's blaming health, whether it's whatever. Um, because there's moments, I think, in all these games where we've seen them have the ability to do good things, specifically in the red zone, and they come away with no points. And this offense, yeah, they're banged up, but again, less than 20 points, only 19 in this game, and some red zone deficiencies yet again. And so, is this just a talent issue because of the injuries, and we can just blame it on that, or is this a bigger issue where even if they had the talent in there, would it really make that much of a difference? Obviously, I think it would make somewhat of a difference. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think of that? Do you think it is they're just punching above their weight, but just don't quite have that talent, or is it larger issue where, hey, they should be 2-2 right now as opposed to 1-4 or 2-3 or whatever. 2-3,
Yeah,
3-2.
Chicago game was winnable. Lions game was winnable. In a lot of ways, they beat themselves. Stafford wasn't executing very well in the red zone. I think he overthrew Colby Parkinson a couple of times, a bit off target on those throws. I don't think he had his best game in this game. The self-inflicted ones of the turnovers as well. The Kyron fumble, Matthew Stafford turnover. Those led to points both times. So you know, uh, there's kind of a chicken or the egg thing with this Packers team where it didn't. They definitely weren't very efficient in the first half. Came out looking a lot better. But I think you got to look at what was driving this team or what was supposed to drive this team anyway, which was the offense, and that's where all the injuries are taking their toll and you can't discount that. I mean, those are very real things. And I think you just look at that receiver group and you say Jordan Whittington was the best player uh, in that group. They're relying on Colby Parkinson. It's not working. He's doing okay, but that wasn't the fix that they needed. And so I think that if your offense is so banged up and particularly at the receivers, it's just like you needed a guy to go out there and make a play. And my mind automatically goes to the 2-2 Atwell 2-point conversion attempt, which would have brought the game within 3 points, which that field goal makes. They could have kicked that field goal, on that last drive from where they ended up stalling out. But jet sweep to the corner of the end zone, and he just got, he's a 150-pound dude. He just got knocked away by a bigger, more physical guy. It's just like it's just a mismatch. So
it should have been the Jordan Whittington sweep that I called pregame. That'd make more sense.
Yeah,
Bigger
definitely.
body.
And it shouldn't be lost on anybody that Jordan Whittington went out with an injury on his very last catch, and he missed those last 3 plays, and they called some passing plays, and there was even more. There was a bigger lack of talent on the receiving corps. So yeah, when you need all-star players to make all-star plays, and they're not out on the field, that's what it is. I mean, that's really what this game came down to. Like I said, if Cooper Kupp was healthy for this game, different result, I think.
Yeah. And here's not to be, because I agree. I did come away from this game feeling like, hey, they had an opportunity to end with a game-winning drive and beat the Packers. So I still feel like this team has the ability to turn things around after the bye, and they get some favorable matchups. So I don't want to sound doom and gloom, but the one other negative thing I'll kind of say is like, I agree with everything you said. And when you look at, and every game's different. So I'm not saying that the running game has been efficient every week. And I know we are the podcast that pounds the table to run the rock more. I think a lot of other people are doing that now too, but knowing how deficient you are in the passing game, because everything you said is spot on. Like they just don't have the ability to push the ball or have receivers open in space without their 2 top guys. They ran the ball yesterday extremely efficient. Kyron, 102 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. Blake Corum got in the game, 5 for 25, 5 yards a carry. So 27 total runs. Tutu had that one jet sweep, but 27 total runs between your 2 backs. But you throw the ball 45 times. And, some of that is they're down, I get, but it's just another instance of like, your personnel now going into this game. There has to be somewhat of a play calling ideological shift to favor what strength you do have on offense. Like no football person, I don't even think Sean McVay would say like, yeah, our strength right now is our passing game, because look at who you're throwing to. I mean, it's just, it is what it is, right? That's not calling any, but you have a rookie 6th rounder, Jordan Whittington. You have, Tutu, who's I think played well in spots, but he's not going to lead your receiving room. And then you have a walk-on in Tyler Johnson, and Colby Parkinson was a nice asset, but he was supposed to be here more as a blocking tight end. Like that is not the strength of this offense right now. The running game was good yesterday. And so I would have liked to have seen them lean more into that And I think they got the touchdown in the red zone on a Kyron Williams run. The game was never out of hand. I mean, they were obviously losing for it, but you could get yourself back in. So that was the one negative takeaway. Obviously, the loss is negative, but I think overall the play was good. The defense, which we'll get to, I thought played a lot better. The run defense looked a lot better than it had in weeks past. So, but to me, it's just again, and I feel like I'm more critical of McMay than most, but I think just as we said before, I just know how good he is and how smart he is, and to me, that's like your passing game's not the strength. Why are we hucking it 45 times? Running the ball was working. And Lincoln, we do this on the USC show too, because Lincoln Riley does the exact same thing. Like they probably lost that game to Minnesota. There's a number of reasons we're not going to get into it, but the running game was efficient, and they decided to just keep throwing it, and that's how they get 2 interceptions. Well, the last one was just a kind of a Hail Mary throw, but it's like this. I get when you are who you are, and that's what made you the coach you are, was this type of offensive philosophy. But as the head coach and knowing what your strength is or what is working in that game situation, that's what I would think you would lean into.
Yeah, Kyron Williams currently tied with Derrick Henry for second most carries in the league right now. I believe Jordan Mason is rushing more than that. So they're using him a lot, but I think you called this in our pregame show about Blake Corum getting some touches in this game. I think you also called some Jordan Whittington game. So
I did.
good on you for that.
Thank you, sir.
But one target for Kyron Williams, and I don't know if let me double check this. And one target for Blake Corum, and I know we've hit on this over and over again. We're probably sounding like broken records at this point, but maybe it's time to get a guest on the show to inject some spiciness. But where are those plays? Kyron Williams is your best offensive player. You want to get it in his hands as much as possible. Now, I understand that you want to keep him healthy. And it's good to see Blake Corum kind of getting involved in the running attack, but that's a missed opportunity. I feel like, they're targeting, Colby Parkinson in that short to intermediate areas. And I think those could be Kyron Williams spots. Now I understand that you have to keep them in the backfield more, because the line is a bit deficient on the left side. But it's just like they're leaving stuff on the table, and we see it in other places as well. Other teams, they just get their best player the ball as much as possible, and I mean it's not a bad strategy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So even going back to that the Super Bowl, there was a beautiful Darrell Henderson catch and run there in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it is what it is with the injuries, but I just think there's some missed opportunities, and the red zone and the self-inflicted wounds and things like that. But like you're saying, where we wanted to see some trick plays, and that could have broken this game in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think a lot left on the table for the offense.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, there's obviously for good reason. There's been so many comparisons to the 22 season with the injuries, but I mean that season, like the injuries were obviously just as bad, if not a little worse. But I mean, that just felt it was over. Like obviously McVay with his story of him kind of being checked out and all the differences and coming off the Super Bowl and all that. But they were getting blown out of games. They weren't like this season is different in the sense that they've had an opportunity to win every
Yes.
game but one, and so that tells you that even with the injuries, they still have the pieces to get it done, and they have surprisingly, because we even question the depth, but surprisingly, they've have the depth and the quality of talent to get the job done. But the self-inflicted wounds, the red zone efficiency, the play calling, whatever we want to attribute it to, it's not getting it done. But they have a bye week, like you say. Cooper Kupp should, for all intents and purposes, be back. They get if they lose to the Raiders, then it's time to then we'll be doom and gloom, like time to end the season. The Raiders are terrible. So the Rams should, coming off a bye, getting cut back, potentially others, like they should take it to the Raiders. But we'll get to that obviously later on next week and whatnot. So let's talk about the defense a little bit. We can be fairly quick, but overall I thought the defense played better. This Packers offense is kind of strange how I feel like some weeks they've looked really, really potent. Other weeks, not as much. Now, obviously, 2 weeks of that was Malik Willis as their quarterback with Jordan Love out. Um, but you know, I thought they held their own, and still 24 points, and you'd like to see less than that. But based on what we've seen this defense do, they held Josh Jacobs to 73 yards, 3.8 yard carry average. Um, Green Bay ran the ball, 30 times. There you go. Well, 3 of those with Jordan Love. I don't count QB runs. So 27 times. And I thought the Rams' run defense was much, much better. The pass defense, obviously, Packers were missing weapons on the outside based on injury and suspension. But I thought the pass defense looked better. That one play to Jaden Reed, that deep 53-yard shot, it was just unfortunate. I mean, 3, I'm not even going to count Christian Roseberry. So 2 Rams defenders and somehow just like didn't see the ball. I mean, that was like you had a Keller Witherspoon on the very back end, like looking at the goalposts. And then Quentin Lake was just a little late coming over the top. But that was like man, how did you miss that with all 3 of you guys right there?
Yeah, it's like the second baseman charging out into the outfield and the center fielder coming in, and they both just like don't
Yes.
go for it. That's kind of what that felt like. And also Roseboom that deep in the coverage. I mean,
Not good.
I yeah, the run defense. Yeah, they cleaned it up a lot. I expected that to be really ugly. But the thing still plaguing this team, and Akella Witherspoon is not going to help at this, is those explosives.
Yeah.
Darius Williams, on the other hand, will help with that. Will help with that. And they made some major changes to the defensive backfield ahead of this
Yeah.
game. Shockingly, Trey White was listed as an inactive. Cam
Yeah.
Kinchin's now benched after 2 games, replacing John Johnson, who's on the IR. But Josh Wallace and Jalen McCullough, 2 undrafted free
Yeah.
agents, getting a big snap share for the first time. What else was going on back there? Oh, they moved Quentin Lake from the nickel back to safety.
Safety again.
So yeah, a lot of changes, which is good. I mean, it wasn't working, whatever they were doing. Missed tackle is still a problem. But I think they played where I wanted them to play, which was like good enough.
Yeah.
They didn't really do a lot to, go out and win this game like I would love to see. I mean, that Jalen McCullough interception was, it was just tossed into his hands. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you got to take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Obviously,
You did, which you did. Love it.
you got a pick 6, and they scored 19 total points. Yeah,
Yeah.
the offense is not moving anyway.
It's not good when the Broncos offense is looking better than the Rams offense with Bo Nix. That is not good.
Yeah.
Say that.
So I mean, those, that's where we wanted to see him play. And Kobe Turner, I got to shout him out. He had a fantastic game, couple of pressures, couple of sacks, 3 more sacks. So that's kind of they're finally getting home, which we knew they would because they were getting the pressures. All in all, pretty impressed.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, and that's the big thing, right? Like neither of us, we won't speak for anyone else, but neither of us thought this defense was going to be a great defense. I think our preseason show, we were like, if they can be like top 20, like we're thrilled. Like just be like an average defense, because there's so much newness to everything, from coaching to the players to a little bit scheme changes and everything. So this was more a game where it felt like, okay, they were a mediocre, good enough defense to where if the offense could have done anything, they could have won this game. I mean, you say, I didn't even mention it obviously, but the pick 6, the offense literally scored, I'm not good at math, but 13 points.
Yeah.
So, Jared Verse, no missed tackles.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that. That's great.
No missed tackles. That's been one thing we've, because he listens to us, we've been challenging him on.
Yeah.
The team still had 11 missed tackles, which I think is still too much. You never want to be in double digits. Anything under, you're going to have some missed tackles, but you don't want to be in double digits. But Verse credited with no missed tackles. So that's 3 total tackles, no missed. So that is certainly an upgrade. Had no pressures. I don't know if according to PFF. 3 hurries, I guess, but no pressures, surprisingly. But um, anyway, so yeah, I think they show those changes, wholesale changes on the back end. They seem to help. Again, Packers beat up in their receiving rooms. They didn't go against their top talent, but I think what's good now is you have the bye to see if this is the unit on that back end that you're sticking with, and you have the whole extra time to prepare to go up against a pretty weak Raiders passing game. So let me ask you this: do you think Trey White will be back in the lineup? Or is he maybe done as a Rams starter? Not even a starter, just as an active player.
Yeah, I knew he had gotten beat, but I'd kind of chalk that up to just going up against like really elite receivers, like Marvin Harrison, Brandon Ayuk. There's all sorts of people on the Bears are good receivers. So,
Yeah.
but apparently they did not like what they saw from him. And there were all these question marks we had coming in to this season. And one of them was, would Trey White be that All Pro guy that we saw pre-injury? And no,
Yeah.
definitely not. I mean, I didn't think he was like getting benched worthy, but
Yeah.
but but I didn't, it wasn't that elite cornerback kind of play. So yeah, I mean, I could absolutely see him, cut. I think they probably liked what they saw out of Josh Wallace. Definitely liked what they saw out of Darius Williams, and Akella Witherspoon, like hurt a lot of last year, but explosive passes is what killed them in this game. They gave up some huge chunks in this game, and Akella Witherspoon was not good at that last year, and still not looking like he's good at it this year. So, I mean, if Akella Witherspoon is just a modicum better than Trey White, I mean, I guess I always say at 52 spots, everybody's got to serve a role. And if he's not a special teamer, if he's not, a little bit better than the Keller Witherspoon, I could absolutely see it.
Yeah, I know. It's wild. I mean, I'm sure indications were from McVay that he was a total pro about the move and it was a coach's decision. Um, so he's a veteran guy. You never like to go from starter to inactive. I mean, it's one thing to go from starter to like, hey, we're moving this guy, but hey, you're still going to be involved, and if we need you, to being like, hey, no, just stay home. Don't even come to work today. Never mind, we're good. So obviously, good to hear that he handled it like a pro, but you never know behind the scenes. You might be in like, all right, well, I could probably go somewhere else and get some playing time if this is in fact done. Now, again, they have these full 2 weeks in the bye week. They don't do a lot of practice. You actually do take some time off, but for sure next week they'll be back at practice and seemingly see what they can do with these different sets. And I'm sure they would like to still kind of work him in somehow. But I think that, again, like what you said, Darius Williams looked a lot better. Great to have him back. He was always slotted to be the starter. And if Witherspoon can be better than what we've seen from Trey White, then and we know they like their young guys, whether fans do or not. We know they like their young talent there, with Josh Wallace undrafted and obviously Kobe Durant. So it might be the end already of Trey White, or if he's good with it, he'll just be a P squad guy and make his check and help make the scout team better.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should probably cut him instead of doing that. He's not getting paid a ton this year, so give him a chance to go play somewhere else would probably be the right thing to do. But yeah, I mean, I think you know it's just confusing
Yeah.
to see these kinds of changes happen, and obviously there was deficiencies there. So I mean, it's interesting that they made the change ahead of the bye. I think is really like,
Yes.
and they signed Akello on September 11th and he played a couple of snaps last week, but like this was his first game really. So it's all very strange back there in Shula's secondary.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Everything is being a little odd, and it's been kind of just an odd off season and beginning to this season. So, well,
Yeah,
we can put a bow on the recap. We'll talk, obviously later in the week. It is the bye week, but we'll still do a show and kind of talk big picture. You look at the schedule, and like I said, we get the Raiders right after the bye, which I think is great. You can have a bye week, get healthy, get hopefully a favorable matchup. But then right after that, you get the undefeated Minnesota Vikings, or at least for now, they're undefeated. With that defense that blitzes more than any team in the NFL, and the offense has looked dynamic with obviously two of the best receivers in football, and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. So that's going to be a gauntlet. After that, you get the Seahawks, always tough division, and then you get the Dolphins and Patriots. So 3 of the 5 are favorable matchups. 2 will be very tough. Again, we'll talk about more later in the week. You have to, no matter what, win 3 of those. But I really, you probably need to win 4 of them to give yourself a shot on the back end of the season. So tough sledding, but they do have some matchups at least where they should be favored, especially if they get some of these guys back like Cooper Kupp, like Steve Avila. Um, so we'll see. We'll talk about it then. Anything else you want to add before we hit that end recording button?
Yeah, speaking of Shula, earlier on the season he was not blitzing. 51% of dropbacks, Jordan Love was blitzed in this game. So
Love it.
they're trying everything on defense, and to their credit, they looked better. So
Yeah.
good on
Well,
them.
I think that's a great point to credit because we've talked a little bit about frustration with McVay's, not really adapting or changing or being a bit stubborn. Defensively, they've done different things, whether it's personnel, whether it's scheme, whether, like you said, blitzing. Like they've done different things every week. It feels like so they're trying new things, which is great. It did look better offensively. They've done some good things. I just there still is for what it was supposed to be. We know there's injuries, but this is the NFL. You can't just use that as your crutch the whole time. There's opportunities that they've just haven't, unfortunately, capitalized on. So, but we'll dive a little deeper into that later in the week. So, well, that'll do it for us here on the Rams Skinny. Thanks as always, everyone. Ramley for hanging out with us. Tough loss, 1-4 Rams, but hey, season got the bye, got some winnable games on the back stretch. Let's see if we can get this thing turned around, and if not, then we'll talk trade deadline and what a rebuild really looks like. But hey, that's later down the line. So. For Skinny T, I'm Ryan Dowd. Thanks everyone for hanging out. We'll talk to you all here in just a couple days. Peace out.